Happy 420, everyone. Happy holidays. Plants over pills, baby. Um, so, of course, I had to have a live stream today, of course. Also, because 4, 2, 2, all of the numbers that I love, 2024. Let's go. So, you can see I have a bandage on my hand. The cat and the dog they met each other and I got in the middle of it. So don't worry. I am going to be fast. So I want to make sure that all y'all in the Midwest get your hour that you want. So today is the first day of Taurus. And so that's the other reason why it was very synchronistic that we have an invocation today, because Taurus is right after Aries. So it's the second sign in the astrological year. And it's like Aries brings you that fire, that I am energy of and the Taurus energy is that okay, now that I know the lower things that I've blown away and the fire that I've lit, how do I get into bull mode and just or bear mode and just push my way through it, right? Do the things that I know need to get done, because you spent all of Aries just hanging out, going through and burning away all of those lower densities, figuring out all of the things that you need to do. And a very good representation of that is this black dragon from Saturn. So this black dragon from Saturn, he is all about self-discipline, but also passing a test. So Aries season tends to be a big test for a lot of us. A lot of things will come up, especially those of us who are more connected to the astrological year than the Gregorian calendar. Sorry, my lips are hella chapped. Hold, please. And what? So you will notice that okay, the springs come and the flowers are blooming and you're making your vegetable gardens and you just feel more alive and moving through. But it also, you already are starting to think about your harvest, right? When you're planting your vegetables, you're already thinking about what vegetables you want to pick in August and in September and in October, and then Samhain, Halloween, all the way through February or so, you are in a resting, renewal, regenerative state. So that's why this black dragon from Saturn really is kind of the ending of a 6-month period. So if you can think back to 6 months ago, so that would have been October 10th of last year, I cut my pinky, almost amputated my pinky, and then found out that it's the acupressure point for heart, and I was doing a whole bunch of blood oaths and not blood oaths, I wasn't participating in them. I was learning about my Akashic record and my ancestors and a whole bunch of old debts and old blood oaths and old clearings, and then I cut my finger, and I thought it was okay, well, I guess I just gotta bleed that away. And a whole bunch of other stuff started really trickling in for me. So this black dragon, again, from Saturn, is really talking about how when you have that self-discipline, when you have your own guiding light, where you're able to be your own teacher, where you know what your daily routine is. I've really thrived during this whole stay-at-home order. I've been able to figure out exactly what it is that I'm looking forward to in September. I'm not getting stuck in the everyday of, oh my God, what day is it? I know exactly what day it is. I know when I have clients. I know when I've got to deal with other things, when I got to go to the store, when I'm running my household. I'm stepping in. Aries energy is also the Emperor energy. And if you guys were here for the 4/4/2020 Dragon Invocation, I spent the whole hour talking about the Emperor energy. So go back and find that one, because I don't want to take up a lot of time today. So I'm just going to read this, make sure I didn't miss anything. Brings you wisdom through spiritual discipline. So again, this is your morning routine and your afternoon routine. And honestly, a lot of us know that a middle of the day routine is also really awesome. So I you guys may know, like, I just got a dog this weekend, and I'm loving that he actually needs to go on like 3 walks a day. So we go on a jog in the morning, and then in the middle of the day we take him with the kids, and then in the evening after the little kids are asleep, I take him for another walk. And it's just like another added thing into, I read in the morning, I have my meditation, I do all my spiritual practices, I have this routine, so that as the external anything like that starts freaking out, it doesn't really affect me, because my routine, it's not that I'm set in my ways, it's that it's what keeps me in my way, like in the way, and not like grinding to a halt, continuing to grow. You guys are seeing a whole lot of my posts about transformations and butterflies right now, and that's what this dragon also really represents, is that after you've gone through a big test, after you've gone through a long sitting period, like all of your tulip bulbs that you planted last October are now popping up. That was 6 months that they just sat in the ground, and it was cold and it was hard, and they had to think about what is going on, and they had to establish their roots and trust and grow in the deep, deep, deep dark, and then finally bust through the surface. Like the flower is the very last thing to grow in a plant. Like all of this all the way down, and then like obviously you can't even, the bulbs aren't there. The bulbs are still in the ground. Like next year I will have tulips in that same spot, or I can go and dig some of them up because a few of the clumps are getting really big and I can spread them throughout my yard. So I love the analogy of a tulip bulb for when you are going through a really big transformation as well, because of how much time it really does sit under the dirt. And then once it breaks surface, it's like, you're like, oh shit, there's tulips already? Like I swear that those weren't there a week ago, right? And then again, he congratulates you for passing the test. That's really exciting. Like even if it was hard, even if you suffered like crazy, even if you thought your world was completely shattering apart, having that spiritual discipline is what got you through. And that is what the black dragon from Saturn is really telling you, that whatever habit it was that you had formed that changed your ways to get you through this test is absolutely a strong foundation for what's going to get you through the next test, and you need to just keep building on your foundation. So that gets you to this white and gold dragon from Lyra. So if you've worked with Lyra, Lyrians, Lyra. So the white and gold dragon from Lyra really just tells you that you need to bathe in the Christ light. So as the tulip comes out from, I'm just going to pull one out so I don't have to hold the whole thing. But as a tulip is coming out of the ground, you have this moment where, like, again, like you're walking through your yard and you just like, nothing's really there. And then all of a sudden you just see like a little bit of it. And then like the next day, like 2 days go by and you see like this much of it. And yet, even though it's only been like a week since you first saw the tiny little sprout down here, you have a whole flower. And then all of a sudden your whole yard is filled with them. So it really is, it's that inner work that you don't do. Do you guys love that? Love how I like lost trust for 1 second that you couldn't hear me and it fucked it all up. So speaking of trust, I love that. Like, thank you, universe, for like kicking my ass right there, because I was freaking, oh no, the numbers going up and down and no one's commenting. Oh no, can they hear me? Oh no, even though I had sat here and tested it. And of course, and then the second that I lose faith, I just love that. I don't know about you, but Aries season was really fiery and real hard for me. So now that we're in Taurus season, I'm seeing a whole lot of very instant, like immediate things like that, where like I didn't trust for 1 second that people could hear me, and it ended up crashing my live stream. So that goes to show you like exactly what it, like, celebrate. Don't assume that because it's going well that there's something wrong, right? I was jiving, I was going good, and we're still going to get back into that flow. But if you're jumping on right now, there was a part 1. Luckily, it was literally an intermission, right, as I was switching from the black dragon of Saturn to this white and gold dragon from Lyra, who connects you to the highest Christ frequency, helps you to develop your causal chakra, bathe in that ninth dimensional Christ light. So when you have the black dragon from Saturn, which I will show again for those of you who might just be jumping on right now, when you have the black dragon of Saturn and you are very excited about the fact that you have this test that you've just passed, sometimes you get you just go too fast and you will burn up. So if you watched my live stream on yesterday, Sunday Morning Coffee with Karen, I talked all about adding a little bit of water to your steam, or to your fire, to make steam, to continue the momentum that you really need instead of burning up. So go back and check that out. If you didn't see that, it was a really good one. And you really want to be getting into this place where things, exactly what just happened, where I had to reconnect. And those of you who are going to be watching this on the YouTube channel later are going to see the splice where we're adding the two videos back together. And it's because I lost trust for 1 second about whether or not the mics were working. And instead of assuming that the mics aren't working and having a technical glitch, I could just use that causal chakra, staying in that high vibration, and just know that everything's working the way it's supposed to. And if people couldn't hear me, more likely, by how far into it I was, someone would have said by now that they couldn't hear me. But I just assumed the worst. So that's a habit that I noticed in Aries season that's coming up for me a lot. I tend to assume things. Even getting my dog, Shadow, I had been contacted by someone on Thursday, and Thursday afternoon didn't hear from him. Friday didn't hear from him. Was like, come on, dude, could you at least tell me yes or no? I told my kids, they're really excited. And I assumed he had talked to me at work and he was telling me about this dog and how his other dog didn't get along with him. And so I kind of assumed, because I would have done this back in the day, a few years ago, I assumed that he told his girlfriend and she was like, fuck you, you're not going to get rid of our dog. Your dog can just deal with it, right? But that's not what had happened at all. His phone had died and he had to wait because of all the stuff going on with coronavirus to get the new phone in the mail. And I was up hiking earlier Saturday morning. So Thursday night didn't hear from him, Friday didn't hear from him, Saturday morning didn't hear from him. Saturday morning I went hiking with some friends, and there were all these beautiful dogs going up the canyon, and I just come back down and I'm like, I want a puppy. And there were a bunch of people with their dogs. They're like, so get one. I was like, I'm waiting, I'm supposed to, it's fine, the perfect dog will come to me. And I go hang out, or I go home and I do some meal prep. And all of a sudden, 2:30 comes around, and I look at my phone, and I have a text message from the guy saying that his phone had been broken, and do I want to go and meet the dog and come get him? So again, assuming the worst made me stress out and be angry, but I still ended up getting what I wanted, which was this dog who's amazing, and his name's Shadow, and you're going to be seeing him all the time now. He's over there sleeping. So when we pass the test, when we stay high vibrational, me declaring in the middle of this canyon, I want a dog, and then within 5 hours, here he was, one before, when I was in the vibration of oh, I bet you that he changed his mind, and what an asshole, and his girlfriend, blah, 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 when I was in the lower vibration of assuming I wasn't, the dog didn't come, right? And even him coming was kind of a crazy thing, because I had given up on finding a dog and just posted in the local group, and someone had responded to it 4 days afterwards. So the manifestations are happening a lot faster. But when you finally connect with thoughts or things, you have to be so fucking discerning about what it is that you are talking about or what you're thinking, because it will happen. And it'll happen sometimes before you're ready, and then it's pulling a flower before it's had its full, when you go picking flowers with your little girl or your son or whatever, and they pick the ones that haven't ever bloomed yet, and you're like, oh, poor flower, I feel bad. That's what will happen sometimes during this Taurus energy, or even just when you're in your spiritual discipline, when you're excited that you passed the test, you still need to learn all the lessons, not just what got you through, but what is it that you fell on your ass on, and how can you continue to move forward so that you really can reap the reward. You sow the seeds in the springtime, and you spend all of this early summer really tending your garden and getting all the weeds out and cleaning up house and doing all those things, so that in the fall you can reap the reward for all your hard work and all of your dedication and all of your discipline, and move forward into the winter and kind of just have this time of reflection, right? So in this time where we're all kind of being forced to have reflection right now, instead of like just focusing on everything that's wrong in your life, the things that are like thrown in your face that really there's not a whole lot you can actually do about it right now, you start thinking, using this white and gold dragon from Lyra, you start thinking about what it is that you want, assuming that this is what our lives are like for a while. Like if you were alive prior to 9/11, you remember meeting people at the gate and giving them hugs and kisses at the gate. There was a before 9/11 and an after 9/11 where we have TSA and all these other things. So while we don't know how COVID-19 is going to change the world, we do know that it will change. So despite that external circumstances, using this black dragon from Saturn, despite what's happening out there, how can you focus on what's in here and get your own house cleaned up? And I'm not just talking about like your physical house, like your emotional house, your mental house, your spiritual house. How can you get that aligned so that when the fall comes, you can really enjoy and like look forward to your holidays and do all the, like, the world is going to keep going. We're going to keep moving through linear time. Linear time is not stopping just because you think that you're living the same Groundhog Day inside of your house. I get up every single day at the same time. Now I'm taking my dog for a walk every single morning. I'm getting dressed in the morning. Like things have not changed for me, but let me tell you the amount of my friends who are going batshit crazy because they used to send their kids to public school. All of my friends who are just like, I cannot wait until my husband goes back to work because I love the man to death, but I do not fucking like him, and I can't wait to miss him again because he's gone 50 hours a week. My husband isn't going back to work for a while, probably. Actually, he was already telecommuting sometimes, and now they're finding that it's actually pretty easy. So everyone's going to have to change. So when you're working with that night, like bathing in that Christ light of like, okay, I passed this test, shit is still hard. I'm still like, I went through Aries season and it was crazy and I'm still in my house. Like, how can I still continue to move forward with what I want? And that takes tapping into those psychic abilities and moving your thought line into the future despite your present circumstances, because your present circumstances are only because of your past choices, and your future circumstances will be based on your current choices. So if you don't like your current circumstances and you want new results, then you need to look, okay, here are the results that I want. Okay, well, what actions do I have to take to even like get those results to begin with? I don't know what that's going to have to be. Sometimes it's action, sometimes it's inaction. Sometimes it's like having to come to your knee, like having a come to Jesus fucking moment on your knees, crying and begging, like, why is this what it needs to be? And sometimes it's as easy as like making that decision to finally go paint that fucking bedroom, whether or not your husband's going to help you. Or maybe it's just as easy as being like, you know what, meat is the most expensive thing we buy. During these hard times, we need to just cut out meat and we're going to be vegetarians until we can actually afford good quality meat and we're not eating the shitty like clearance meat hoping we're not going to get sick. Yeah? That was a lot of fire that I just like pulled up. And it's because like fire dragons are kind of like burning around the earth right now. I didn't pull them because they're doing their own thing and it wasn't really pertinent to what I wanted to talk about. Because like 420, what is 420 really? It's this day that everyone thinks about stoners. We think about Columbine, we think about Adolf Hitler. Like, it's a very significant day. Some years it falls on Earth Day. Earth Day's in 2 days from now. And we get to take this moment, this time in Taurus, to again really just like what are we willing to pull forward? Like, Taurus is the bull. Taurus is like, I think about ox more than I think about bull. I think about like putting that wagon on. I live in Utah, so everyone came here in like ox driven wagons. And I think about like how they had to pull people's whole homes across these deserts and across these plains and get them to these safe spots, and what sort of tenacity it took, knowing that this is what they wanted. They wanted to move forward. They needed to get to that promised land. They needed to get to Zion, which is what the LDS, the Mormons, call Utah. And it's beautiful. I'm not even LDS, and yet I can really sit there and appreciate what the Mormons who were running away from exile were dealing with. or what like hippies and stoners, what we're dealing with every single day. Like, this is a national holiday for stoners to get stoned. Okay, sure. I hope y'all left milk and cookies out for Snoop Dogg last night. But what does that really mean? Like, in the 1930s, this medicine got taken off the shelves of Walgreens because some guys had a whole bunch of problem with African Americans and Mexicans, and they didn't like that the hemp decorder had been created, and that all of a sudden the timber industry was going to crash. It took like 5 people to take cannabis completely out of the picture for 100 years almost, and it's taken tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people around the world to start getting it back into our normal lives. Up until the 1930s, using cannabis was a normal everyday thing. And we also had a whole lot of other like amazing things that would happen. You can't find an extremely like a person of like, I don't know, like start doing your research, but historical figures were using cannabis for always. It was really from like the 1930s until 2012 when Colorado legalized it that it was like not even a full 100 years. So if we went not only even a full 100 years missing a plant that normally we had been using, what does that mean? Like, did we kind of just like have a stunt for the last 100 years? What are all the things that could have progressed faster? Because we know that humans have an endocannabinoid system. We know that using cannabis as medicine has been used, and also as ritual ceremony has been done for thousands and thousands of years. We know that hemp itself, which is not the THC principle, like the non-THC part of the cannabis family, has over like a billion things that you can, or $1 billion crop. It has over 10,000 uses or 30,000 uses, and they knew that back in the 1930s. So is that the test that we're all like globally passing right now? Maybe that's why it's today on 420 that I really wanted to do this. I was trying to skirt around the whole cannabis thing, but let's honestly, guys, I'm a cannabis activist. I have been for 10 years. Cannabis is what helped me cure my fibromyalgia. I was able to get off of the pharmaceuticals. I was able to use my own body, my own mind, use this natural plant, use therapy, use massage therapy, psychological therapy, and in 7 years go from having literally daily thoughts of suicide, hating my life, living in so much pain, to 3 years ago giving my birth to my daughter unassisted at home, sparking inside of me some sort of, I don't know, goddess that I didn't realize existed when I gave birth to my boys, even though one of them had been a home birth. The fact that she was born unassisted, the fact that she came so fast, the fact that I had to surrender and just like let her come, sparked something inside of me. And I will continue to say it, who I was 3 years ago is absolutely in very little ways the person I am now. There are pieces of me that are consistent. There are pieces of me that are still there. And it's not that I'm ever going to try to completely be rid of who I was. But it's just plain and simple facts that I'm not that person anymore. And it's because every time I passed a test, instead of being freaked out, oh my God, I'm not a caterpillar anymore. Holy shit, I'm a butterfly. What does this mean? I'd fly around for like a butterfly until I realized that on this new level that I was at, I wasn't a butterfly. I was like up here. Those butterflies are different. They're more like caterpillars. And you keep evolving. You keep going through that cycle. Or more to the point, it's different areas of your life, different places. It started with my health and my fibromyalgia and getting my head on straight and getting into my body and understanding all of that and having my second son at home and trusting my body in that way, and then getting to a point where I was like reading more and talking about those sorts of things, and then it came around to me giving birth and to my daughter, which then went to the parenting sort of things and all of that, and then the parenting stuff led to the metaphysical stuff, which led to the business stuff, and the business stuff is like coming up to that point of like, okay, now that you're where you're at in this realm, like what's next? What's the next mountain that you're going to climb? The only way you know what mountain you're going to climb next is by continuing to look forward, by continuing to stay in that high vibration of the Christ as me. Go ahead and go back 2 weeks ago to the knowing the resurrection of you, which was Sunday Morning Coffee with Karen 2 weeks ago, where I talk all about the Christ as you and vibrating at that Christ dimension. So it is, oh, I went over. Okay, I know, you guys, I'm going to go really fast. I know Midwest people, you already logged off. I wanted so bad to be done before it hit for you guys, but sorry. So we're going to just do a quick invocation to pull in these energies of the black dragon from Saturn, helping us with our spiritual discipline to continue to move forward with our habits and discipline that we have formed during the Aries season now that we've passed this test. And also to call in the white and gold dragons from Lyra to really solidify strengthen the connection between our causal chakra and the physical plane so that we can manifest more strength strongly and quickly, because we're in such discipline with our daily lives that we know exactly what we want, and when we have that unified will, what we want happens very quickly. So go ahead and take a nice deep breath in, feet flat on the floor. Go ahead and take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Remember, with Dragon Invocations, we don't want to ground anymore. The 3D grid is gone. Your old way of grounding, do not do that. Get used to feeling this 5th dimensional, 7th dimensional, 9th dimensional, 12th dimensional, whatever dimensional level you went to. Grounding is no longer here to serve us. Grounding is to try to keep us as caterpillars or keep us in our cocoon. So we need to get used to running high energy. We need to get used to expanding. We need to get used to the tears and the feelings and the buzzing and all of that stuff so we can rise to the level of our potential instead of trying to constantly bring the universe into us and what we think is best. It's time for us to expand out to what the universe knows is best for us. To continue to pass the tests, to continue to think in your causal chakra, to continue to be in your vision and figure out who it is you need to be to have those things. Because having is evidence of wanting. So what you have right now is what you unconsciously want. And as you bring those unconscious thoughts conscious, you'll have a more solid idea of what it is you truly want. And when you truly have that unified will of what you want, things just happen so fast. Like I said, I started thinking the thought, oh no, what if something's wrong with the video? And it literally crashed. And there was actually nothing wrong with the video. So, lessons. I love you all. Happy 420, 322 here. That means that we are 1 hour away. I hope you all have a beautiful day. I love you all so very much. Satnam.